Welcome to another edition of Big Apple Hockey. I am your host, Anthony Larocco. I'm flying solo. Marc is golfing, probably intoxicated somewhere. And I think the good old Filk is working. Just wanted to hop on and talk about the news that broke today with Nazem Kadri signing with the Calgary Flames. Shocking to say the least. The news broke while Marc and his buddy John and I were at Northwell Health Islanders practice facility, as today was the big day where we met Alexander Romanov and Ilya Sorokin. More on that later, but as we were in the vestibule waiting for them, that's kind of when the news trickled out, and we saw that Nazem Kadri did indeed sign with the Calgary Flames. Where to start on this one? Many different angles here. First and foremost, I think it's shocking in the sense that a lot of people thought that Nazem Kadri was going to be a New York Islander. And the one thing that I will say is there is no way that everybody that was saying the same thing just got it wrong. Meaning, I think there was legitimacy to Nazem Kadri, having a deal with the Islanders. I don't know what transpired from there, but too many reputable people were reporting it. I mean, just the other day, Sportsnet's own John Shannon had a tweet saying that Nazem Kadri, he thinks Nazem Kadri is going to end up on the Islanders, and that it could happen very soon. And Lou had to move some money, so. Dave Pagnotta, good friend of the show, he reported on NHL Network that it was a formality. Adrian Dater and Marc Seidel. And then I had sources in the media in the league that I texted with privately that pretty much confirmed all that. So it's certainly strange what transpired. And truthfully, we'll never know the truth, but needless to say, Kadri's Calgary Flames signing a 7-year deal at $7 million per season. Now, before we talk about the Flames' point of view here, from the Islanders, the only really thing I can really think of that might have transpired here is that if you see the news that Sean Monahan is going to be traded to the Canadiens, which, by the way, that trade still isn't official, and I'm not sure what's going on there. I don't know if it's Montreal needing to make a corresponding move because they only have $247 of cap space right now before they even acquire Monahan. So might be another move coming. But it could be a situation where Kadri got tired of waiting around for Lou to move money. Or as you see the rumors, it seems like the Flames might cough up a first-round pick just to move Sean Monahan. It's entirely feasible that the cost for Lou to move Josh Bailey was a first-round pick, and he ultimately decided he was not going to do it. So Kadri pivoted and signed with the Calgary Flames instead. That's just kind of one theory. But so actually, the thing about this comment is Nazem Kadri 2 years ago. Yeah, it was about 2 years ago. He nixed a trade to go to the Calgary Flames. I don't buy for 1 second that he waited until August 18th that long and then ultimately just signs with the team he nixed a trade to 2 years prior. To me, I think that really does lead credence to the fact that the Islanders were in this all along, and then something transpired at the like I said, whether Lou not wanting to move a first to get rid of Bailey or he simply just took too long to make a corresponding move. But the funny thing is when Romanov and Sorokin walked up to us and we met them, we started talking to them while we were talking and Sorokin was signing my jerseys. I said to Romanov, I'm like, Nazem Kadri signed with the Flames, and the look of shock on his face was something else. He's like, really? Kadri signed with the Flames, Calgary? And I said, yeah. So he looked really surprised. Now I'm not saying it was because he thought that Kadri was coming to his own team, but he was definitely surprised. And then when they left, we were in the vestibule. They were by their cars and they were both huddled against one of their cars, and they were looking at their phones. So I could only imagine they were probably kind of looking at it too and seeing what was going on. So again, I don't know what they knew, what they didn't know, but Romanov was definitely surprised when I told him that Kadri signed with the Flames. So needless to say, where the Islanders go from here. It's a situation where, for Islander fans, it's the feeling is all too similar. Where, in 2019, it was reported that Panarin was the front runner to sign with the Islanders, and then we all know what happened the next day, signed with the Rangers. And then this year in free agency start of it, Pierre LeBrun and the TSN crew seeing that Gaudreau was down to the Flames and down to the Devils and the Islanders to find out that, signs with Columbus, and later see it. You don't know how true that was. So, and then obviously this of Kadri. So it seems like they always get close. They're always the bridesmaid, but they never get it over the finish line. So again, I already speculated what could have happened there. Something definitely was a little fishy in my opinion, but needless to say, Lou needs to pivot. He needs to find his next move. And to be honest with you, right now, I'm not really quite sure what that next move is. There are other free agents left out there, Sonny Milano, Phil Kessel, Evan Rodriguez, but and all solid players, but they're not needle movers. They're not the Alex DeBrincat they could have got, or the JT Miller trade that fell apart. So I don't know. Again, if any of those guys are going to move the needle. And then circling back to JT Miller, I'm not sure if that trade is still on the table, or if that's a feasible option anymore. So that might be out. Vladimir Tarasenko, I would be surprised at this point if he moves. I don't think he will. I think he'll be a St. Louis Blue up to the trade deadline. And if they're a good team, he'll probably remain a Blue, and then he'll just probably walk for nothing in free agency. So I don't know what Lou's next play is here. I really don't. For all we know, he could trade for a forward that we didn't even really know was available, but I don't know exactly, where it's going to go. And quite frankly, I'm starting to lose a little bit of faith in him. Goalkeeper asked right here, at one point, is it Lou's fault? And that's a great question. Some say that maybe it's an issue of his old antiquated ways. Guys don't want to have to play under the strict rules of not being able to have facial hair, or if you're a younger guy and you have a high jersey number, you got to give the jersey number away, and you got to pick a lower number. Just little things like that. Again, I'm just speculating if when it comes to, is it Lou's fault, and how he operates his team. I don't know. I mean, the one thing is that he is well respected, and people that have played for him always have good things to say, and he's very professional. But some of his ways with the secrecy too, it's just getting old, and a lot of Islander fans are starting to lose their patience with him. But clearly the ownership still has faith in him, and I guess what's going to happen now is, and we said it before, is if they were to have a bad year. Now he's in the line fire, being that he can Barry Trotz. So if they don't make the playoffs or struggle, it's all on him now, nobody else. Puck Yanks, I wonder if this is a terminable offense for Lou. No, I highly doubt it. I don't think the ownership group would make a change right now, so close to the season. Again, I think they're going to kind of give him this year, see how it goes. And again, he fell on the sword here. By firing Trotz. So now it's all on him. So yeah, if they do have a poor year, I think the ownership group may look to move on from him in the offseason, but that's not going to happen as of right now. But for just to talk about the Calgary Flames point of view here for a second, the Flames, they're looking good. It started as a disastrous offseason for them, by Gaudreau walking, and then Matthew Tkachuk essentially saying he doesn't want to play there anymore, and he gets traded, and then you trade him for Jonathan Huberdeau, who's an elite player, and then you re-sign him, and now you go out and you sign Nazem Kadri. So Gaudreau and Tkachuk out, Huberdeau and Kadri in, not to mention Mackenzie Weegar also in. That's pretty good for the Calgary Flames. I give a lot of kudos to General Manager Brad Treliving on this. And then not only that, but he finds a way to move Sean Monahan's salary. So kudos on Calgary. They made some good moves. Again, a lot of Flames fans, or not just Flames fans, but a lot of hockey fans in general, were kind of saying after the blows they were dealt with Gaudreau and Tkachuk, they kind of just turtle and almost like rebuild or just tread water. And that's not the case. They're going full steam ahead, and they're going to try to compete again. So if you're a Calgary Flames fan, you got to be happy with the moves they made. And sure, it hurts to give up a first-round pick to get rid of Sean Monahan. But again, that's the price they needed to pay to make Nazem Kadri work. And on the flip side, in regards to the Islanders, that people saying like, oh well, Lou just he doesn't want to pay the price to move Bailey, and that's what it ultimately comes down to. Brad Treliving was willing to trade an asset to get rid of a guy in Sean Monahan who's underperformed, has been hurt, has a bloated salary to get the player they want. And from what it seems like Lou Lamoriello was not willing to do that. And I think that's where a lot of frustration comes in on the part of Islander fans that, he doesn't do what needs to be done to get the player that he wants. So, but yeah, back to the Calgary Flames. I can't say more good things about what Treliving has done here. I think, by getting Kadri, you slot Backlund down to a third line center, which is pretty good because I think he's a legitimate second line center. So now you have Elias Lindholm, Nazem Kadri, and Michael Backlund as your 1, 2, 3 centers down the middle. That's pretty strong. So, and then you still have Huberdeau and Mangiapane on the wings. So I really like what Calgary did. I think if you're a fan of them, you got to be elated with how the offseason has gone with how it started. So for sure. But yeah, just a very interesting turn of events. Like I said, I think, everybody had the mindset that based on the reports last couple of days that, Kadri was going to be a New York Islander, and he's not. So again, it's a tough blow. And yeah, and David, this is really, the Flyers don't really seem to have a direction right now. We talked about them a little bit with the tweener episode when we did our show the other day, but yeah, I wouldn't want to be a Flyers fan right now. That's for sure. This again, fireable offense if they have a miserable. Yeah, sure. So clearly right now, yes, if they would not make any more moves the rest of the offseason and the roster, what you see right now is the team they have on the ice, and then they don't make the playoffs, then yeah, again, I think that Lou probably would get fired. That's just, I think, a fact at this point. But again, I think we have a long way to get there before they get to that point. We got to see what the finished product is and then how they perform on the ice. So this is actually incorrect, just me. A lot of insiders and media speculated on that as well. And then hell, again, I don't repeat myself, but Dave Pagnotta said the deal was a formality. John Shannon 2 days ago said that he expects Kadri to be an Islander and it could be done very soon. So it actually had a lot of legs, and it, just like I said, there's no way that many people were that wrong. Something happened here. And yes, Buck, yeah, exactly this. It was the general consensus. And again, we won't know what happened, but clearly it didn't go the way everyone thought it did. But again, kudos to Calgary for sticking in there and moving the salary needed to make it work. Because if they weren't willing to trade Sean Monahan, then this likely wouldn't happen. So again, Treliving stepped up and he was willing to pay a price to get the player he wanted. And again, that's not something Lou seemed like he was prepared to do. At least Lou makes half an attempt. Yeah. Again, it seems like he's been in it on a couple of people, but again, he can't get the ball, into the end zone, if you will, to live a football pun, which, NFL starts soon. So I'm looking forward to that. But the one thing I will say that about Lou that I can't really get on him too much is that He's been good with keeping some key players and signing them to an extension. The Ryan Pulock and Adam Pelech deals are really, really good value. He did a really good job on re-signing those two guys. Easily, one of the best shutdown pairs in the league before they were broken up this year because of the depth with having Green and Chara back there. But he got them on great contracts, and he's done a couple other good things, like getting Andrew Ladd off the books, getting Ilya Sorokin to come over from Russia. But he also has his warts. The Devon Taves trade looks real bad in retrospect. The contract to Leo Komarov that he signed when he first got there, but that one I give him a little bit of a pass on because it was literally right when Tavares left. He didn't know the team at all, and he just wanted to bring in a character guy, but nonetheless overpaid him. But so he's certainly done his good things, and he's certainly misfired on some things. But I think a lot of people give him a pass just because of his Hall of Fame past. He is for sure Hall of Famer, one of the best GMs, in the last couple of decades. So he's been getting by on his, like I said, all his successes in the past. But now, I feel like the game might starting to be passing him by. But again, I'll wait to see how the rest of this offseason goes and how this season plays out before you make the ultimate judgment. But as of right now, it's hard to argue with that. He's literally, he hasn't signed a single free agent so far this offseason. The only one move he made was trading for Alexander Romanov, which does greatly improve their D, but still doesn't excuse him from the fact that he hasn't added to the forward group that was 22nd in goals for this year and 21st the prior year. So clearly the one area they need to improve on is goal scoring, and he hasn't solved that problem yet. So I think he recognizes that, but again, who really knows what he has cooking or what's going on. But I just know a lot of fans are growing impatient. On the flip side of this, though, there are a lot of fans that are happy that Nazem Kadri did not sign with the Islanders. I've seen a lot of it on Twitter and some forums today. And it's the basic, what you've heard before, that they didn't need another center, and he's 31 years old, and the end of the 7-year deal, he's going to be 38 or 39, which is all valid. But it doesn't change the fact that he would have made the team better for sure. And I would probably say for the next 3 years, you'll probably get some pretty high standard of play from Kadri before he starts to fall off. I think maybe when the 4th year rolls around, the contract could start to look kind of ugly. But again, for a team that's trying to win the cup, you don't really worry about that. You worry about what's it going to be in the short term, and if he's going to help you get to that ultimate prize, which I think if you added Kadri to the lineup, I did think they're a surefire playoff team. But like I said, that's not to be had, and now they have to move on. You know what? This continues much longer. Maybe I will. I'm sure he'll just send it to voicemail. But again, there are a lot of fans that are not happy and would like to really serve him his head on the platter. But again, I hate to say it, but you got to give him the benefit of the doubt until the season starts and you see the finished product, what's going to be hitting the ice. This is right. Like I said, unfortunately it's the price you have to pay. You're not getting a top free agent for a 2 to 3 year deal. You're just not. These guys are going to cash in. So if you want to get the player, you have to give the term. You have to give the 6-7 years. And that's just a fact. Kadri wasn't going to sign anywhere for less. So you're right about that, and it's just something you have to deal with. You look at Erik Karlsson's contract. A lot of guys, you're playing on an elite level, so you do what you have to do to get the player. You give them a long-term deal, and then you deal with the repercussions as time goes on. So, this is true. It's always about Calgary's window is right now. And kudos to your general manager. Like I said, he did a great job. I mean, not not many teams can lose your 2 franchise players, and you almost come out better off. I mean, Huberdeau just essentially replaces Gaudreau, and now you brought in Nazem Kadri. So you lost 2 elite players, and you brought in one definite elite player, and then you brought in another guy, Kadri, who may not be elite, but a very, very good player in his own right. So I really like what Calgary did. I really can't say it enough. I think these moves they made and keeps them where they are and able to compete right now. So I mean, right now, I mean, Lee and Nelson had a lot of chemistry at the end of the year once they kind of swapped and Lee left Barzal's line. So if no other changes are made, I have to operate under the assumption that Lee's going to stay with Nelson, and maybe I don't know. I mean, Wahlstrom would probably be on the right side of Barzal. Who would be on the left side if they keep Anthony Beauvillier? Maybe they put Bo back with Barzal. I know when Eberle was here for a while, the Bo, Barzal, and Eberle line had a really good chemistry, so that's a possibility. But that's my best guess of what's going to happen right now as the team is currently constructed. Yep. Certainly a roller coaster of emotions there in Calgary. Sure, for a while things looked bleak, but again, you guys kind of came out on top. So Philk, his new hours at work. I'm not really quite sure exactly what they are, but I have a feeling it's 9 to 5 or 10 to 6. That's why he hasn't really been on much. But hopefully we can get the band back together here sooner than later. Yeah, again, this is right. The Rangers 7 years for Trocheck's probably, a little too much, but again, this is what you have to do to get the player you want. So, if the Rangers weren't going to go 7 years, I'm sure, and they only offered 5, I'm sure there was certainly going to be a team that gave him 7. So, again, they did what they needed to do to get the player they wanted. So, good on them. See, this is good to see you, Empire State. I don't think I've seen you on here before, so welcome to our show. This is what I was referencing before, that some Islander fans were happy they did not sign Kadri, and I get it. Look, 31 years old. He is going to be 32 by the time the season starts. His birthday's in October, so I get it. I really do get it. But however, he did make the play. He would have made the team better right now in the short term. So. Again, I'll admit, just like Trocheck, it was far too many years, but you have to keep this in mind. Let's say 4 years from now, Kadri falls off a cliff or Trocheck falls off a cliff. The salary cap is going to look much different in 4 years than it does now. Salary cap is going to probably start going up again at a rapid rate, like it would have pre-COVID in the next year or 2 years. So in 4 years, the salary cap's probably going to be much higher. And then some of these teams like the Rangers and Islanders, players that are here right now, by the time that 4th year came around, they wouldn't be there anymore. And the cap situation is totally different. So that's why, again, you can't really worry about giving a guy like that 7 years, because it's not going to look the way it does now when it gets to that point. So a Monahan trade return in. I'm curious. I haven't looked at my phone, but the last time I saw it was supposed to be a 1st round pick with Monahan. And then General saying now Montreal deal just got completed. Monahan in the 1st for futures. Yeah. So again, I had to repeat myself, but the Flames did what they had to do to get the player they wanted. If they weren't going to move a 1st round pick to be able to get rid of Sean Monahan, they likely wouldn't have had Nazem Kadri. So, it's steep. You never want to give up a 1st round pick just to get rid of somebody, but it is what it is in this climate right now. So, the one thing I'm curious about, though, as I mentioned when we came on, the Canadians only have $247,000 worth of cap space, and that was before they added Monahan's $6.3 million cap hit. So, now, Montreal is what, $6.5 million over the cap. So you got to assume that they might be making a move soon. This is me just speculating. I haven't heard this from anybody, but I could possibly see Josh Anderson being moved. I know his name has been mentioned, in the past. So if they have to move out some salary, he could be a piece that goes. Maybe Jake Allen to Vegas. They need goaltending. Although you would need another move in addition to Jake Allen, as his cap hit doesn't cover the overage of what they would be right now, and roughly that $6.5 million number. Yeah, Bennett, Dvorak, Armia, I guess that's possible. I mean, they just acquired Dvorak, and Armia is a solid role player, can kind of contribute in all ends. So I'd be surprised if it was him. In my guess would be Josh Anderson, but I guess we'll see. Montreal going to move Price? I wouldn't think so. I think the options for Price are either long-term IR/retirement or he plays. I don't think they would move him. And Core, yeah, you're right. Unless Price is hurt and goes on LTIR, that's possible too. But I guess we'll see maybe in the next coming days or weeks what they do to get compliant. But yes, you keep an eye on Price, potential LTIR or retirement. Again, it's certainly possible. I think his kind of status is up in the air, but which is also another reason why they might not trade Jake Allen. If Vegas decides they want to get another goaltender, Jake Allen might not be available in the event that Price isn't able to play. So scroll back up here. So Islanders pivoting again. I'm not really sure. I said at the start of the show, I don't see Vladimir Tarasenko being available anymore. I feel like if the Blues would have acquired Matthew Tkachuk, then yeah, they would have had to move somebody for cap reasons. I think it would have been him, but that didn't happen. So I see him staying put. JT Miller, again, I don't see him leaving anymore, especially after the deal fell apart. To begin with, I don't see Lou circling back again. I think his ego and pride gets in the way a little bit. So whatever transpired there and why it fell apart, I can't see him, kind of going back and to that and revisiting it. So I don't think he's an option. And from there, yeah, it doesn't really leave that many other options unless, again, it's a player that no one even knew was available, that Lou trades for, because you saw him do it with Romanov. I mean, there were a lot of names linked to the Islanders in terms of defenders. Not one of them was Romanov, so that's another possibility. He could just trade for somebody that we weren't really talking about. That's really the only thing I can think of. I mean, if you ask me to speculate on who that player might be, I mean, I can't really even begin to venture about that, because I mean, maybe I don't know, I'm getting a little bit on the spot here, but a winger that's a bad team. From New Jersey. And honestly, I can't really think of anybody who else would still be out there. I mean, maybe Josh Anderson. I guess if Montreal is trying to shed cap, it could be a similar move to where Max Pacioretty was given away for free, where they essentially get Anderson for peanuts. But the problem with that is, he makes $5.5 million, so you still then have to move somebody like Josh Bailey. And now, granted, Josh Anderson is a better player than Bailey at this point, but not to the point of astronomical levels where is it really worth it to trade for Josh Anderson and then trade Josh Bailey with a first-round pick to get rid of him? I mean, if that was the case, you would give up a first-round pick to get rid of Bailey. You might as well just done that to sign Kadri. So so I don't know. I don't see it. I'm really having a hard time seeing who could be available right now for them. Well, and Wicked, I mean, I kind of disagree. I think Kadri would have brought in, again, no one's expecting him to put up his 87 points again. But I I do think he would have put up at least 60 on this Islander team. And you're talking, bring in 60 points to the team combined with a better defense from adding Romanoff, and just playing in a season that's not going to have so many ridiculous things with the COVID and everything like that. Yeah, I think that would have made him a much better team. But again, I know there are a lot of people kind of like you that didn't really want Kadri that are happy about this, and I get that. But now, still though, you still need to make a move, and it doesn't really seem like there's many people left. Jeremy, welcome to the show. Yeah, I would love this, but I don't see. And I do think when Patrick Kane is traded, I do think the Blackhawks are going to retain 50% of the salary on it because there are not many teams that can absorb that cap hit. But I don't think it's going to happen until the trade deadline. So yeah, I don't see Patty Kane as a viable option for the Islanders right now. Come playoff time and they're solidified as a playoff team, then yeah, I have no doubt in my mind they will be in the running for him. But as of right now, they're not going to get him, unfortunately. Yeah, and we do need a first line winger. But again, here's the problem: is where is that first line winger coming from? And this is why I'm mad that Lou did not trade for Kevin Fiala. Why he didn't trade for Alex DeBrincat. I said those were I thought they would have been the two safe choices because, again, there was no guarantee you were going to sign Gaudreau in free agency or getting an unrestricted free agent. But a guy like DeBrincat and Fiala, who, had no trade protection and couldn't control where they went and whatnot, they were the more realistic options. And ultimately, Lou didn't get the job done. Now I get it with like DeBrincat, the 7th overall pick is higher than the 13th. That has more value. But again, throw in other pieces to maybe counteract that. It's just frustrating because that player is young. He would have been perfect for the team. And he didn't get the job done with him and did not get him. And that really pisses me off more than anything. Certainly more than this news with Kadri and even with Gaudreau. I think DeBrincat would have been the perfect player for them. And I would have given up a pretty good piece on top of the 13th overall to compete with the package that Ottawa gave up. But again, it is what it is. No sense in crying over spilt milk right now. It's in the past. But I thought he would have been a good get. And even Kevin Fiala. I know that the Kings got a good prospect in Brock Faber, defenseman. The Islanders could have. I would have. I would have offered a Robin Salo or something similar. They were both second round picks, Salo and Faber. So, I would have done that. Maybe add a little more to that to get it done. But again, it didn't happen, and Fiala went to the Kings. So. Again, yeah, he missed the boat on on a lot of guys. And again, he could make me and all Islander fans eat crow by at some point before the season starting. Making a move for, again, as I mentioned, a trade that really no one saw coming, and made the team better. And then again, at that point, all of us are just going to have to take our lumps and eat the crow. But at this point, his track record, I don't have the faith in that happening. So. We'll have to see. Tarasenko last year would have been a great play, especially while his value was low because of his shoulder. But that's another reason why St. Louis held on to him. They weren't getting good offers, and they figured might as well hold on to him, and they did. So, yeah, I have a lot of good questions for Lou, but sadly, I don't know if I'll get a chance to ask him those questions. General, we did a quick recap when we were leaving Northwell, the Islanders practice facility, after meeting Sorokin and Romanov. You could probably find it on our page. I think Marc posted it. So you could probably be able to see it if you sign on, but it was only a couple of minutes long, but he gave some of his impact. Hopefully at some point, he can come on and do a longer segment on it. I tried to get him to do one today, but he said by the time he got in from golfing, he'd be tired and drunk. So, So I tried, but he won't be coming on. 41 of you watching right now. Love to see it. A little bit about the meeting that took place today. So, see, with only me on, do a lot of talking, get a lot of parched. Takes a lot of sips of water here. My counterpart Marc to take over for a little bit, but yeah. So as we kind of mentioned, we made an endorsement deal with the Gold Star Agency. It's the agency that represents. It's the agency that Dan Milstein represents, and all his clients fall under that umbrella. And it all started about it was like a year or two ago. I actually had my own Hat Trick Apparel fanware. I had my own like sweatpants, t-shirts, hats with my logo on it, and then I sold graphic NHL player tees, blade shades, and it just didn't it didn't really take off. Truthfully, I've been talking to Marc about it, and I might bring it back. So stay tuned on that. But when I had that Slava Polar, I guess he's a representative that works for the agency that I guess looks for these type of companies that I had to pitch to me about having an athlete do an endorsement deal. And for a while, I tried to get a deal for Sorokin, and we weren't able to put it together. So I stayed in good contact with him. And then when Marc and I really got going on this, I reached back out to him and asked if there was a deal to be made. And he said Sorokin wasn't, he didn't really want to tie himself to any endorsements right now. But being that, he knew I wanted to work with him so bad, he was appreciative of me being a big fan. That's why he agreed to be there today alongside Romanov to sign my jerseys, my reverse retro Sorokin jersey and my CSKA Moscow jersey I got. He signed both of them. And then Romanov, we gave him our Big Apple Hockey t-shirt and hat. And he's going to wear those in an Instagram story post, and he's going to make one post for the next 3 months advertising our channel and tell people to come check us out. So it was nice to get to see them. They were both very nice. Both very soft spoken. Mind you, they're both Russians. Sorokin's come a long way with his English, and Romanov's probably a little better than him, but they still weren't super talkative guys. But they asked us how we were doing, and chit chatted for a little bit. I mentioned I told Kadri. Sorry, I told Kadri. I wish he was there and was able to tell him something. No, but I told Romanov that Kadri signed with the Flames, and he was like really surprised about it. So. But all really nice guys. So look out for the posts with Romanov probably coming in the next week or so. So, but it was cool. It was cool to see them, to be around them. I posted the picture of us on my Twitter. And they're not big guys, like not Jack, but they made me, Marc, and his buddy John Solomon look small in terms of height. They were kind of both towering over us. So. But yeah, it was cool to meet them and get that under our belt and get going there. So, is this just to be official now? Flames announced the signing. Yeah, no Lou methods there and holding the signing back. Again, that's something I still can't get my head around why. He thinks that's a good thing to do, and whether he's fooling anybody, but he's clearly not. So Empire, I mean, a little bit of this is true. Yes, your Romanov will help solidify the top four playing with Noah Dobson. He's much better than Andy Green, as Daniel Chara. He forms a really good top four along with Pelech and Polak. But as far as everything else, I mean, it's not a given. Anthony Beauvillier has been in the league, I think 6 seasons now, and he's never topped 40 points. So to just kind of expect him to all of a sudden become this 60-point player is a little bit unrealistic. Yeah, it could happen, but to kind of pine your hopes on that, it's not really good. I mean, Bellows too. I mean, Bellows at this point, I'm not even sold he has a future on the team. I mean, if you look at it right now, who is he going to play over? I mean, Zach Parise is the only guy I could see, but Parise is a good veteran. Scored 15 goals last year. I think that third line left wing spot is his. So there's no one else on the roster I see Bellows playing over. I mean, could you scratch him from Martin and put him on the fourth line? Yeah, but it's kind of useless to put a guy like Bellows in the fourth line because that's not the type of player he is. So I really don't think Bellows is going to have any sort of significant impact on the team this year. So again, yeah. Could you point out that not playing under such defensive mind Barry Trotz's system will lead to more goals, and being that he'll loosen the system up a little bit? Yeah, sure. It could result in an uptick in production of some guys, but it's not something you should rest your laurels on and be like, all right, well, we don't have to add another forward because we're going to be playing in a different system now. I think that you absolutely needed another top six forward, and Lou failed. He's up to right now. He's failed on that. Again, training camp doesn't start to September 20th or so. So he has another month, and he has moves in the hopper with Dobson and Romanov. So who knows what he could do? But as of right now, the proof is in the pudding, and the pudding shows is that he hasn't done anything to upgrade the team's offensive output this coming year. Tom, yeah, I honestly, I love Zach Parise. I think for a guy that's 37 years old, his motor still runs. I was surprised he's actually a lot faster than I thought he'd be. I thought he was busy in his age. He was going to be borderline slow, but he still had a motor and he never stopped moving. He was like a pit bull on the puck. And he scored 15 goals. I mean, for a guy that's 37 years old and making $750,000, you can't ask for anything more than that. Zach Parise on the third line is no issues there. He's not the problem, and I'm glad that he's back for another year. Pajot, yeah, I mean Pajot, the year that we got him from Ottawa, I believe he had 26 goals that year. So and then I think his second year he had 17 goals, and then there was COVID, so he probably would have been over 20. It was last year that his numbers really dipped. I do expect him to be better, but again, just relying on Pajot to be better offensively, that's not enough. But I do really like Pajot, and I think he's one of the better third line centers in the league. And then Empire, yeah, you're right. Bo has been good in the playoffs, but so far, how he's performed in the regular season, again, he could blossom and become more, but right now, you got to call it like it is. He's a 35-point forward right now. Not really exactly a difference maker. Young enough where there's still upside, but also in the right deal. I would trade Beauvillier in the right deal. I'm not going to give him away though. Yeah, General, I would love to see it. And, the night of the draft, it seemed like the trade was going to happen. Elliot Friedman was saying, seems like there's something going on with the Islanders and the Canucks. They've been talking about JT Miller. And usually when he says stuff like that, 10 minutes later, a deal commences and it's done. So I just don't see Lou circling back. Especially if the rumor is true that the reason why it fell apart was because the Canucks did not allow Lou to talk to Miller prior about an extension. Again, Lou's stubborn. He's not going to make that deal unless he knows he could sign Miller to an extension. So I don't see that happening again at this point, unless Vancouver changes their mind and realizes they're not going to sign him and don't care anymore and say, yeah, sure, you could talk to Miller about an extension. Ken Hughes said the news on Price. Yeah, so there you go. That would solve the Canadiens' cap issues, but then it also opens up the issue in goal. I mean, Jake Allen, at this point, I don't think he's a legitimate starting goaltender. So, something else would have to be done there if you were the Canadiens. Yeah, Parise. I mean, listen, at his age, you can't. It's not really fair to say that Parise is going to score 20 goals easily. But I mean, if he gives you 15 goals again, we as Islander fans take that and run. And as far as Palmieri, I mean, truthfully, if he didn't start the year on that dreadful streak where he literally had what? I mean, I got to remember now because it's been a while, but he had two. He had 2 goals in his first 24 games, or something along those lines. That's simply not good enough for a guy like him. But he did turn it on at the end of the year, so hopefully he could pick up where he left off. Um, yeah, as I said before, I think ownership's going to give Lou this season here to see what goes transpires, because again, with him firing Barry Trotz, he is essentially fallen on the sword, where if things don't go wrong, there's really no one else left to blame, considering he constructed the roster. So yeah, I think if things don't go well, he's either will step aside, because I've heard rumors that only got 1 more year left on his contract. So yeah, either he leaves on his own accord or he gets the boot. And this is another thing about Lou that kind of that kind of puzzles me a little bit. He's 80 years old. You would think that he doesn't have much time left doing this job and wants one more cup before he leaves. So you think he would do all he had to do to win a cup and like make that all-in move, and he hasn't done it yet. Just excuse me, guys, for 1 second. Back. I don't see there. See, I get, I get this sentiment a little bit, but you have to understand that this team, as constructed right now, has a team that's struggled to score goals. I mean, really, ever since Lou took over, yeah, they made the conference finals 2 years in a row, but you look at those teams, they weren't offensive juggernauts. So I get that defense and goaltending, you could still have a lot of success with. And let's face it, they have one of the best goalies in the NHL, and their defense is going to be really good. But you need more offense. You need guys that can put the puck in the net. And actually, this question, the year when they lost to Tampa Bay, Game 7, they lost a 1-0 game. It's instances like that kind of show how important having another legitimate sniper could have maybe pushed you over the edge. I mean, you're saying that. Again, I know this is hypotheticals because at the time, it wasn't maybe available. But let's say you're telling me if this team didn't have Vladimir Tarasenko on that roster that year, that they could have probably went to the finals if they had another legit goal scorer. The answer is probably yes. If they had another difference maker, maybe they don't lose that game 1-0 and they go to the Stanley Cup finals. And let's face it, they would have trounced the Montreal Canadiens that year. No offense, Habs fans, but the Islanders would have won the cup that year if they had another goal scorer. They just fell short. They're a good defensive team. There's no denying that. But again, they need another goal scorer. I'm not giving Lou a pass anymore because it's been apparent that they need another guy that can put the puck in the net with consistency, and he has failed to deliver that player. So it's just the truth of the matter. General, really appreciate that. Our goal is to kind of just give unbiased coverage across the board. We're growing. Like I said, we had Jacob Slavin on the show a couple weeks ago. I was working on Evander Kane. Still might happen. So stay tuned on that. That should be a very, very hilarious interview, and one that would be intriguing for a lot of you guys to see. But yeah, we just want to provide good content and just kind of make you guys enjoy listening to us once a week or whatever it is. Yeah, no individuals above the team, and yes, you win as a team, you lose as a team, but if you look at some of the teams that have won the cup in the last couple of years, they have a lot of scoring depth and some high end scorers. And look, we're not asking for the Islanders to acquire a guy like Connor McDavid or Kirill Kaprizov. They just need uh, an upper echelon goal scorer, and like I said, Vladimir Tarasenko would have fit the bill. Alex DeBrincat would have fit the bill, but Lou has not done that yet. He hasn't been able to get that player, and I am willing to eat crow, my friend. If tomorrow, a week from now, Big Lou announces a trade, and again, it's for a forward that no one really even knew was available, I would gladly eat that crow. But for now, you got to call it like it is, and he has not delivered on that. Yeah, Tom, I'm not, if you're referring to the Doug Wade era where we were like the Harlem Globetrotters on ice but couldn't keep the puck out of our net, yes, that's very accurate. But again, I don't want to see the Islanders play that style again. I'm not saying that's where they need to go, being an offensive geared team, but they do need another player that could score consistently. Yeah, and this is true. Pajot, he wasn't the same in the playoffs after he hurt his hand. When he hurt his hand, I believe it was in the series against Boston. In later at the end of that series, and then pretty much the whole series against Tampa Bay, he wasn't the same. That injury affected him, and I don't know if it lingered into this past season, but he didn't really look the same, like he was the same player. Angela, welcome to the show. Again, I'm not surprised. They're introducing their new acquisition to the media, so I'm not surprised that he's out there fielding questions from the media and whatnot. Don't think you get anything out of him or what transpired, but again, I do think something happened there with the Islanders. But congrats on the Flames for landing him and really making your team even better. You know what? Again, it's not just the fact that they're not good enough, and I'm not discounting what they did, but it's the issue of this the same issue has been totally visible for the last 4 years, and nothing's been done about it. I recognize that they're good in other areas, but it doesn't excuse the fact that the area that is the most needed, they still have not addressed. That's all I'm saying. And again, I'll gladly eat my crow. Right now, I'll stand by it. He needs to add a legitimate goal scorer if this team wants to take the next step, because you can't just expect your goaltender to let up one goal every single night or 2 goals every single night. You're going to need guys that could put the game away. And in the past, they've lacked that killer instinct, and maybe that's because they don't have that one guy that can go out there and put a game away. Yeah, Tom, the Islanders do have a lot of really good pieces, honestly. I mean, Barzal and Noah Dobson, Oliver Wahlstrom, Ilya Sorokin, they definitely headline that group. Altu Ratu seems like he might be a really good player down the line. And even like the older guys like Brock Nelson, who are still fairly young at what 30 or whatnot, he's even still a really good piece. So they have good pieces in place. They just need another piece to add to the puzzle, and that piece is a top line player to play at Matt Barzal. It's just what they need the most. I mean, think about it. It's been a revolving door of players playing on the top line with Tavares and now Barzal for the longest time now, really ever since they traded for Thomas Vanek. And truthfully, Thomas Vanek's probably the closest thing to what the Islanders need that someone actually got, which was Garth Snow when they traded for him. I mean, maybe you consider Eberle, but mostly Thomas Vanek was the one piece And I give Snow credit. He swung for the fences there. I think everyone and their mother kind of knew that Vanek was going to go home and sign with Minnesota. But he still took a chance, and he traded away Molson, a guy he knew he wasn't going to re-sign and was declining, and he was bang on there because Buffalo got Molson, and then his game fell off a cliff after, and that contract became an albatross. So, I give Garcino credit there. He swung for the fences and added Thomas Vanek. Lou has swung for the fences, but he's whiffed. Artemi Panarin. Yeah, I'll give him that. He definitely swung for the fences there. It seems like he kind of swung for the fences for Gaudreau, depending on what you believe. Some reports say that they weren't able to move enough money to really offer a legitimate offer, but I think he was in. So Lou has tried, but unfortunately, he's like I said, he's whiffed. He hasn't connected on any of his targets yet. With the exception of trading for guys like Pajot and Palmieri at the prior two trade deadlines. He identified a guy he wanted, and he got him. I guess that's another good thing about Lou is that, and it gives more credence to the JT Miller fiasco where the deal fell apart because he wasn't able to talk to Vancouver about an extension. If you look, JG Pajot, he signed him to an extension the same day. Kyle Palmieri, he traded for him. Yeah, he signed the extension summer when he finally announced it on September 1st. But let's face it, I think he was pretty confident that Palmieri he was going to be able to keep. So this is a guy, when he trades for someone that's going to be a pending UFA, he's not going to do it unless he re-signs. So I think that's exactly what happened with JT Miller. I do believe those rumors. I feel like Patrick McGalvin didn't give Lou permission to speak with JT Miller's camp about an extension. So Lou walked away and took that asset and used it on Alexander Romanov instead. So I'm just going to turn on the light here, gentlemen, real quick. Empire. Yeah, listen, there's no debating. Kadri wasn't going to repeat his 87-point season that he had last year. But this is a guy that had 32 goals consecutive years with Toronto. So he is a guy that could provide offense. So I'm not celebrating like you saying we dodged a bullet because I did want him. But let's not pretend that he wouldn't have helped the team. Like I said, he would have been a guy that brought 60 points into the lineup. And that would have helped because right now they don't have that. So yeah, and again, I do agree with Lou. I'm not gonna chastise him there. You don't want to trade what probably would have been a first round pick and let's say maybe Anthony Beauvillier for JT Miller, only for JT Miller to walk. So I get he did the right thing, but you absolutely need to just move on to another option. And it seems like he tried to do that in Kadri, but he needs to move on to another option. He can't just accept failure, which it seems the prior last couple off seasons that's been his motto really. Plan A doesn't pan out, and there's no plan B. So again, I don't know what's out there, but he definitely needs to add another good player to this roster. This not comparable. Let me just get the right comment up here. I can't get rid of the current comment. Well, Tom Smith saying Isles get JG Pajot and the Rangers get Mika. There's a big difference in players there. That's certainly true, but it's you can't compare them. Pajot filled a need at the third line center, and it fits like a glove. When the Rangers got Mika Zibanejad, there was no guarantee he was going to blossom into what he became. Frankly, I remember when the trade happened, there were a lot of Ranger fans that are upset that they traded Brass. So Zibanejad panned out, but he was no guarantee when they made that move. My favorite Isle of all time is Ziggy Palffy or Pierre Turgeon for sure. Um, Definitely those two. Uh, I think it was, yeah, it was probably, I think it was the Palfi trade. I remember let's see, he's traded in 95, 96. So it was maybe about, eh, no, you know what? I think actually, excuse me, it was the Turgeon trade. So when Turgeon got traded after the was the 95, 96 season, I was about 10 years old. And I remember when my brother and my dad told me about it, I cried. 10-year-olds crying over your favorite player not being on your team anymore. But yeah, I loved Pierre Turgeon. Um, let's see what we got here. Some good questions coming in here or points. Uh, yeah, Tom. Again, but you could say this for a lot of teams. Yeah, if Barzell gets hurt, it's ugly. If Sorokin gets hurt, it's even uglier. Might as well tank for Bedard at that point. And then again, if Igor Shesterkin got hurt and Yarrow Halak was your guy, uh, Rangers are done. If let's see what else. If Nikita Kucherov and Braden Point got hurt, Tampa Bay is probably not nearly going to be that good of a team. If Sasha Barkov got hurt in Florida, it's probably curtains for them. If McDavid got hurt, you still have Draisaitl, but they nearly wouldn't be as effective. So, say with a lot of teams, if your star player gets hurt, you're going to be in a lot of trouble. Especially the two New York teams. I can tell you with 100%, confidence, if Ilya Sorokin and Igor Shesterkin went down, both those teams would be bad. Because more specifically, Halak's really at this point, Varlamov's a lot better goalie than Halak, but yeah, both teams would be up the river without a paddle if they went down. David Volek, David Volek, he lives in Islanders lore history forever with the goal eliminate the Penguins in '93. Question for you, Winnipeg. Ehlers, yeah, Nikolai Ehlers would be great on that Barzell's wing because Ehlers is fast, just like Barzell. That honestly would be a great fit. But I think Winnipeg, they could really use help on D. I have a feeling they'd probably ask for Noah Dobson or Ryan Pulock. Dobson, 100% no. Pulock, that's also probably a hard no because defensemen like him are more valuable than a wing like Ehlers. But yeah, I would love to get Ehlers on the team somehow. I just don't know if I see that happening. Antonelli, Bossy, yep. Dad told me about those guys back in the day. I wish, I was born in '85, so I missed the glory years, unfortunately. Bossy, Pot fan, yeah. Uh, this if something happens to you, or yeah, again, it's a situation where if you have an elite goalie and you get hurt, Louis Domingue and his spicy pork steps in, but that's not gonna carry you to the promised land. So let's just hope for our sakes both of these Russian goalies stay in good health. Shesterkin, it seems like he's been good for kind of like one of those minor 2-week injuries a year with his groin or knee, whatever it's been. Hopefully, he can stay clear of that this year, but that would be the only thing I'd worry about. I'm not saying he's injury prone, but he's had a couple of run-ins where it's given you guys a couple of heart attacks. So hopefully that doesn't happen again for your sake. Yeah, the Islanders, the one thing I'll say about their center lineup right now is that, and again, that leads credence to why some Islander fans didn't want Kadri because they didn't need another center. But they're really, really strong down the middle. Barzell, Nelson, Pajot, and Cizikas. That's as good of a 1 through 4 that you're going to find. Yeah, sure, there are a lot of other teams that have better centers because they're top heavy, like McDavid, Draisaitl, and whatnot. But as a group from 1 to 4, the Islanders are easily in the upper half of the league in their center depth. They just need scoring wingers. And yes, Wicked, I saw come up there. I think a lot of fans would love Ehlers on the team. I'd love Kyle Connor even more on the team, but that's not realistic. But again, that's the type of player that the Islanders need. Is that Marc? No, Marc. Marc is probably. I would imagine he's off the golf course by now. I would wager that he's definitely somewhat intoxicated for sure, but certainly not. Certainly not here. Oh, there he is. Yep, there he is. He is still playing golf. But my golf game today is like Lou's postseason. uh, well, are you at least having a couple of brewskis? Because I certainly can use a brewski. That's for sure. Actually, I need a shot after today. Jeez. Oh, and I blame Big Lou for that. It's him and solely him. Yeah, you know what? When the news first came that Leonard was out for the year, my first thought was, all right, well, not many times in life you get a second chance. This is Lou's chance to actually trade Varlamov because now there's a market for him. But again, it just goes to him being stubborn. He spoke about numerous times that he thinks having really stable goaltending and two legitimate goaltenders is important. And I do not see him moving Varlamov. I don't. I would be surprised. It makes sense. Vegas needs a goalie. Islanders need cap space, but I don't see him trading Varlamov. I really don't. Uh, but right now, with how desperate Vegas is, man, I would see if you could get Lauren Brossoit back just because you need a backup goalie, and then make them give you Haig on defense, who's still an RFA. But that would be my play. But I just don't see Lou trading Varlamov at all. I think I'll come to this and forget the golf. A lot of people calling for Lou's head. Again, there are. Don't see it happening right now. Again, if he makes no moves the rest of this summer and they fail to make the playoffs, then yeah, I could see it. But right now, Lou has a good job security. He ain't going nowhere. Plus, if they try to fire him, he may put someone where Jimmy Hoffa is, which only Lou probably knows where Hoffa is, by the way. I think he's the only person that's living that knows where he really is. Yep, that's going to be an interesting duo, must see TV, and I already can't wait for Tortorella's post game pressers, where he just goes off. I remember the one when he was still coaching the Rangers, and he said he was going to make this brief, and he just simply said we sucked from head to toe, and that was really about it. You could expect more of that coming with Torts. Yeah. I mean, if Vegas is desperate to get a goalie, they could certainly trade their first, and that's something I would not be opposed to at all. For a team that's traded their first the last couple of years, if the Islanders could get another first round pick, that would be great. General, thank you very much. I appreciate that, and I can tell you, Marc appreciates it, and Philk as well. So we thank you very much. I don't know again for the Lou misery. I really do appreciate that. You could send Lou a bill for $6.99 and tell him to reimburse you. It's all his fault. Yeah, wicked. I wouldn't. I mean, I wouldn't worry about it too much. Again, I do think they need to add a forward in the worst way, but I do think their D is much improved. And I also think that just the circumstances of last year aren't going to be like it is this year. So I think that alone will make them a better team. But they still need to add another player to the mix. And with that said, though, you got to remember, even though they underachieved this year, um, if you were to put them in the playoffs anyway, they're a team that is built for the playoffs. I think they would have succeeded. So I wouldn't sit there and say that they can't hang with those teams. 'Cause I think come playoff time, the Islanders raise their game. So, but they need to add another top six forward if they want to get there for this year. Yeah, this is another one. I think he really knows what happened at the end. He was probably involved in the director's cut. He knows all. Lou knows all except how to sign a free agent. That he doesn't know. That seems to escape him. Uh, hope Lou never gets wind of that. Otherwise, we'll never get credentialed by the Islanders to cover the team. That's for sure. Or he'll tell Romanov to go shove our endorsement deal. Yeah. See, I mean, I don't know. Again, the Islanders were trotting out Andy Green and Zdeno Chara every night and playing a lot of minutes, and those guys didn't have a lot of foot speed. Romanov makes their D significantly better. And also, too, you got to remember, the circumstances of last year were pretty ridiculous. I mean, I don't make too many excuses for him, but I think they will be better sans regardless of them adding a forward. I just think that's what they really need to go over the top. But like I said, I'm not totally confident in Lou can do that. Oh, Ovi or Ovechkin for the game tying goal. That's a good one. I mean, Mike Bossy, rest in peace, is one of the best pure goal scorers of all time. If it weren't for his back injuries, maybe he was the leading goal scorer of all time right now. So that's tough. But thing with Ovi is we haven't seen a guy with his combination of size, skill, and speed in a long time. But yeah, no, that's a good one for me. For me, it's a toss up, and it's coming from Dada Islander fan. But Ovechkin has also been one of my favorite players since he broke into the league. He's an animal. And which, by the way, speaking of, I think Ovechkin is definitely going to break Gretzky's goal record. I mean, if he has another year where he scores, let's say, 45 to 50 goals, that puts him roughly at needing to average 25 goals for the next 4 years to break the record. I think something that he could do in his sleep. So, yeah. Niederreiter, Niederreiter, he would have been a good fit, a good pickup for Nashville for sure. Yeah, I don't know, guys. It's Yep, Marc chiming in from the golf course. Marc. Yeah, Marc was I planned on doing it when we were there, but I was gonna throw him under the bus and tell Sorokin and Romanov that Marc was a Ranger fan, but I forgot to do it. I didn't do it. I should have, but I didn't. Yeah. See, this is what's tough doing a show by myself. Yes, Ella. But I'm gonna go about a couple more minutes. I gotta divulge in my fatherly duties here. But do I think Radu has changed the calculus? No, I don't think so. Because as good as Ratu has looked, you got to remember, he's still playing against kids. He's never played a game, in the NHL. He still has stuff to work on. It would be a gross miscalculation to say, "Oh, we don't have to get a top 6 forward because we're going to throw Ratu in the mix." And also, too, that goes against everything that Lou is really about. Lou is a guy that brings young guys along slowly and gives them time to grow. He just would not throw Ratu into the mix like that. So if he did, honestly, you talk about fireable offenses. That's certainly one, because that would be ridiculous to rely on a guy that's never played in the NHL before to provide offense. So hold on. As you hear, I got the little one clamoring for me. So just about one more minute. Hello, Alan. Serious problem? Let me guess, your iPad's dead? My daughter's iPad's dead. That's a serious problem, fellas. I don't know how she's going to continue on with not being able to watch her iPad when she has a million of toys to play with. But No, I think basically where we go from here to kind of wrap things up. Calgary Flames came in today, stole the show, added a top six forward to their mix, completed their offseason, while Lou Lamoriello and the New York Islanders still have failed to do to get the job done and add a forward. So we'll see what happens in the next couple of weeks. But I really wouldn't expect anything from the Islanders until September 1st. That's when last year he announced his extensions for Beauvillier, Sorokin, Palmieri, and Cizikas. So Dobson and Romanov are signed. So we'll probably hear word on that by the 1st. And as far as that other move, who knows? We might be waiting for a long time, or maybe it happens before the season starts. But thanks for joining me, guys. We'll be probably. I got to talk to Marc, but we'll probably be back with our normal Wednesday afternoon show this Wednesday, unless of course some more breaking news happens to hit. Other than that, make sure to like, share, and subscribe to our page. You can check out my post on my Twitter and see the picture of Marc and I and John with Sorokin and Romanov. There's my Twitter handle. You could chirp Marc for his choice of golf shirt. And then, thanks for joining me. And I will see you guys down the road.